other big calls, or calls anyway. Keith Earls and Conor Murray, both in the squad. Missed out recently with Munster, haven't been the flavour of the month there. Was that always a given for you, Alan, or did you think he may have dropped one of them, or both, or else always a shoe-in that they were both going to make it?
No, they weren't always a shoe-in. I think I worries that both of them could be left out, and on form, that was a real possibility. But you know, Matt knows this as a coach. He knows more than me, and I'm not trying to put Matt on the spot. Sometimes I think coaches have to be given a little bit of leeway to go with their gut as well. With certain players, and people will argue that that's not fair and you got to pick on form all the way through. But sometimes personality matters, character matters. And he obviously still believes they're two backs. So I'm laying all the blame here on Mike Catt. I've mentioned him twice. But, you know, Mike Catt knows these guys inside out. I'm sure the other coaches obviously have an opinion on when they're sitting down to pick a squad. But as I said, the argument is there. They haven't played. They haven't hit the straps that we know they can this season. Is it in them again? You would like to think so. They're still, they have a lot of mileage on the clock, but they're very experienced players and they're big characters. But they need to improve their form. They need to find form. And the Irish selectors obviously believe it. The argument with Conor Murray is, you know, should Caelan Blade be in there? Does he feel aggrieved that he's not in the squad? You know, so you're going from an incredibly experienced player who was probably a couple of years ago the best scrum half in the world to someone who's inexperienced and has a lot of quality as well. So, you know, coaches go with their gut feelings. And these are not form selections because both players didn't play last week against Northampton. They haven't had top-class performances the last few times. Keith Earls has been a very disrupted season with injury. So they're fortunate to be there, but there's a part of me that really thinks, yeah, I like the fact this situation, but I don't think either of them will start. But I think they've got to really add quality as regards the experience, presence in training, standards, all that kind of stuff. So again, you could pick holes in these selections, but there's a lot of experience and they are characters. And I heard this last week from certain people around the Munster squad. They were probably, you know, brilliant leaders last week in the group with a lot of young players in Munster. And it does make a difference. You as a coach, you love to see that. I would have experienced being dropped before for this certain matches and disappointments and the inclination. The hardest part as a player is to put that smile on your face and get out in the training field and start encouraging other people. It's really difficult, particularly when you're young. As you get older, it's a little bit easier. It still hurts a lot, but you've got to get behind the team and support the team. And they did that last week. So I'm not saying that's why they should be in the squad. I think they're still quality players who need to find an extra gear now in the next couple of weeks and not just be part players of the Six Nations, but really pushing to try and get starts as well.
Yeah, can I throw something there? Just on that. Yeah. Sorry, Stu. The other thing I think there, Al, I think Farrell trusts them. You know, and that trust is built up on their performances over many years. I agree they're not going to start, but really, when you're coming into this, you talked about coaches. They have never let their coach down, and Farrell knows that. And when you get that relationship with a player, where the player knows the coach believes in him, the coach believes in the player, I think they're good selections for the squad. And I agree with you. I don't think they're going to start, but I do understand.
And they are players. I think that's a really important point, Matt. If Gibson Park was injured in the morning, do you play Craig Casey? There's an argument then to say, well, we'll start Conor Murray because he will do the basics really well. He'll be an extra defender for you, and you bring Casey on with that spark and that pace and stuff. So it gives you an option there, and they probably looked at these things. Someone like Keith Earls, if he comes into the team, if you know, he ended up being under 23 and coming off the bench, he still has that ability to score tries, and he still has that quality. So it's trust, and that's a big thing, and that's what's swung in their favour here.
Yeah. Matt, just on that, you know, one's got 100 caps, the other one's got 98. So it would have been a big call to leave them both out, wouldn't it? Like, they can add so much, even if, as Alan says, not playing, but in and around the camp.
Yeah, and look, Quinny's pointed out exactly their recent form, but they were fantastic in New Zealand. They were fantastic last Six Nations, as in Connor wasn't starting a lot of those games. He was off the bench behind Jamison Gibson Park, but they're an integral part of that squad, and they've got money in the bank, if you know what I mean. They're not a young guy coming in where they've got to keep playing every day. These guys have got money in the bank. They've got 198 caps for Ireland where they've given their all, and that's where the trust comes from. They know what these guys are capable of. So even though they're not doing it for Munster just now, the coach has so much faith in their relationship and their past exploits in a green jersey. He's selected them in a squad. Remember, it's not the starting 23, in a squad. And that's the right thing to do. Keith would be fantastic, I think, off the bench at this stage of his career because he covers outside centre as well. We haven't got a lot of players that cover outside centre at the moment with Robbie Henshaw out. So there's also reasons there. And Conor Murray, the captain of the Lions, there's a whole lot of leadership that you bring in around the squad that isn't just about the jersey. It's about what extras do these guys bring into the squad. And leadership away from home is everything. And, look, I don't argue with any of those. I think they're good selections in the squad to drive it through, looking towards a World Cup. I think they're really good. And I think they will be there or thereabouts at the World Cup. They'll take 3 nines, and I think Connor will definitely go.
And Alan, I think it's fair to say he's a different type of 9 to the other two, Conor Murray.
Yeah, he is. I think the game keeps changing all the time. We're back to quick deliveries and just moving the ball away, and it's probably a couple of years that's happening. Connor's biggest strength is his all-round game. I think he's really good at everything. Is he as quick as Craig Casey or Gibson Park? Probably not. But you'd love to think that Conor, he's the kind of fella I think he needs games. He needs a regular run of games. And it's difficult. Munster have 3 scrum halves. Paddy Patterson is someone who I wouldn't be amazed if he comes in the mix in the next few months or possibly comes to the attention of Andy Farrell. But you can only pick 2 when you're 23, and they're judgment calls sometimes. But Conor Murray offers, that experience, that quality, that kicking game. If there's any fault, it's just the delivery needs to be quick and snappy, and that's what the modern day game requires. But he hasn't, as Matt said, this guy's played in 3 Lions tours. You'd love to see him having a surge and a run like Johnny Sexton. The way a couple of years ago, we were all getting a bit doubtful about Johnny Sexton. Maybe could he continue? Was he the man going forward? And he's had such a resurgence in his career. And I think Conor Murray has that ability to do that, and he has those performances in him. And the way the game has gone now, it's you change it up with substitutions, and there's a lot of rotation. And the older you get, too much rotation doesn't benefit you sometimes because you need to keep that sharpness up. Younger players can nearly come in with that burst of energy. And I think Conor, he needs matches. It'd be great coming into the Six Nations if he'd played the last 3, 4, 5 games at Munster, but he hasn't. So he's got to find ways to get himself up to speed with his own individual conditioning and stuff like that, and working with Jason Cowan in the next couple of weeks. But he still has ability and a lot to offer this team.